Hi, this is Todd V.
And I'm Erin Ludlam.
This is another episode of Arts Quest. We've got an interesting mix of stories for you today. We start off the show with the FTF Music Conference.
Right, it's located in Kent, Ohio, and it's actually organized by a local record company.
Correct.
Local Northeast Ohio record company, and their whole entire idea behind it is to get the local garage bands to start thinking like a national act.
Right.
And what changes mentally to make that happen.
It was really sort of a neat thing as we got to sit in and hear some of the discussions and realize that what they're trying to help them do is say, hey, quit being just a guy in ripped jeans and a t-shirt, but figure out a way to present yourself as if you're a real national act and actually want to get paid.
Right.
Nice concept.
Right.
After that, we go out to our emerging artist segment with Margaret Williams, who brings us a little bit of
flamenco is what he's trying to say.
That was a little flamenco.
This is flamenco.
Correct. After that, we're going to go into a story that Erin actually brought to me, which I was fascinated by. And then when I got into it, I was like, I love this story.
It's a really great story about a local, obviously Northeast Ohio, outsider artist. And that is a term that, you don't generally hear about. It's not something that we talk about.
Right.
And he has just impacted the community, the people, not even Northeast Ohio, but he's even moved on and impacted people on a national level. And that is just a really cool thing to see. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that story and find out exactly who he is, what he's done, and the connections that were made. It's a really fascinating story.
You're going to want to hang around for that one. But right now, let's head out to the FTF Music Conference. Hey everybody, Todd V. We're at the FTF Music Conference. This is part of the whole, I don't know, what is this? This is Jeff Gargas, who created FTF Records. And this is his whole baby. You got your bands here, and you're trying to help other bands get as cool as your bands. I mean, can be done maybe.
Some are cooler.
All right.
Some are even cooler, yeah.
Who's the coolest band?
Here?
No pressure.
No comment, please. Pleading the fifth on that. Although, I since he's just yelled at, that's Justice from 3SO. They put on a heck of a show last night.
Oh,
we had some great
cool.
bands out last night. A lot of really good bands that did some good things, and we got more tonight and tomorrow and Sunday.
So what do you hope to accomplish at this conference?
The biggest thing that we're trying to do is provide some sort of education for the bands in this area, and we have some that have traveled in from other areas, and just anything we can do to really push them to start really getting into the business and learning, educating themselves in the business of music, networking, getting to know some people, whether it be other bands, whether it be us, whether it be our panelists that we've coming in. And honestly, this is the first time we've done this, the first time really anybody's done this in the area at this level, and we want to, the goal this year is really to establish that foundation. So the next year we can do a little bit bigger, a little bit better. The next year we can do a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and just continue to grow. Basically, just to take the area here, the Kent, Akron, Cleveland, Northeast Ohio music scene, and try and help it grow.
Okay.
And make wise decisions, and there's a lot of good talent here. We want to pull them all together and see where we can take it.
So you actually got rock stars to agree to education?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's we don't need no education. No, it's great to see them really come out and say, you know what, I'm a rock star, but I still got a lot to learn. You know, I mean, they get it. And some don't, but most do.
Okay.
And they learn it. And once they talk to a lot of the panelists we have, and they're like, oh man, I didn't know that. That's a really cool thing. Maybe we should try that. And, what we hope really is that a band goes home with, it might only be one little thing. Like, man, that's a cool site that we should check out, or, oh man, I never thought that we should pay attention to our photos that much, or maybe we need to focus on our live show. Whatever it is, just that even if it's that one piece, it's something more than they have that can maybe help them grow their career the next time. So, yeah, we've had a good turnout so far, and we hopefully it'll keep growing and we'll have more out. So yeah, Rockstars education, it's crazy.
So if people want to find out more about FTF Records, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go to ftfrecords.com.
Okay.
We have all of our contact information on there. We also have a MySpace page, and MySpace/FTF Records, as well as Facebook.com/FTF Records. We have nation all your stuff. But the best way to go is just go to FTFRecords.com.
Cool.
And they can check us out on there. And more information about the conference and stuff. And obviously, after this one's over, we'll be looking toward next year.
For next year.
That's just FTFMC, as in musicconference.com.
Okay.
And it's got the same thing for MySpace and everything as well. So, that's the best way is go to the .coms.
Excellent. Well, right after this, we're heading over to see some of the music at the showcase, so we're ready to rock and
Over
roll.
at the Outpost.
All right.
Right on 43.
Cool.
All
Thank
right,
you.
man. We'll see you guys there then.
See you there.
All right.
We're here with Maurice Martin, the cool musician
I do what I can.
who headlines Winslow. No, that's going to start fighting the band, right?
No, it's good.
It's all
right. It's all right. They know who brings the sexy. It's okay. I'm just saying.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough, because the hair is phenomenal.
The hair is pretty amazing.
So tell me about the conference. What are you getting out of it?
This is a really cool conference for me because I get to be a panelist, but I'm also taking notes on half the panels,
Nice.
It's I think the biggest thing is that this area has needed this. There's so many bands who have talent, and what we need now is to get a chance to start honing that talent, find out how to get the music out. So if I can be a part in helping with that and also learn from people who are coming from out of town, amazing. That's what we need.
What do you think about the music industry today as compared to where it used to be? I mean, as far as how much control an individual musician has in their own destiny?
I think you always control your own destiny. Yeah, you can end up in a contract where you're somewhat limited, but you decided to sign that contract, so at that moment that was your choice.
Right.
I think that the biggest thing that you can do as an artist is to develop your vision and your game plan before you ever talk to a manager, talk to a label, talk to anyone else. If you know what direction you want to take your stuff in, then hey, this manager, they match my goals, they match my vision, that's who I need to work with. This
Okay.
label, I don't feel like you should sign a contract just to sign a contract. Sign it with the right people who match where you're trying to go.
Okay. And this is another one. This is kind of be off the wall a little bit, but
Sure.
I'm curious. After Michael Jackson died, there was an interesting theory that was put out that will never happen again because we have so many channels of distribution.
Yeah.
There are so many things that distract us that there'll never be one singular person that reaches the masses
The
like
depths,
that.
yeah.
What do you think of that?
I agree.
Okay.
I do agree. I think that Michael Jackson was pretty amazing in that he had the chance to start off so young and be huge so young, and he was a hit all throughout his career.
True. Okay.
And when he was a kid, think about Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus, as a little kid.
Do we have to? Really?
I'm going to take us there.
Okay.
I'm going to take us there.
All right.
When Miley Cyrus was a kid who watched her, kids.
Yeah.
And then while Miley Cyrus is a teenager, it's mostly teenagers and young adults, right? When Michael Jackson was a kid, he had the adults watching already. Then when he was a teenager, the adults were still watching, so were the kids, and it was the whole. So he branched some depths that I don't think any other artists are going to be able to get. And that's he may have died at 50, but he started performing at 10. So there's 40 years of spotlight.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very good point. Oh, very cool. Well, we'll look for. You going to be over at the showcase?
Yeah, I'll be there tonight, and then actually Winslow is going to be showcasing tomorrow night.
What time are you going on tomorrow night?
7:40 tomorrow. So
Okay.
we're definitely looking
We're
forward
gonna
to
have
it.
to be there at 7:40 tomorrow. That I know.
Absolutely.
And if people want to find out about Winslow,
Sure.
where do we go?
Well, you can go to winslowsoul.com. Basically anything that ends in Winslow Soul. So myspace.com/winslowsoul,
All right.
twitter.com/winslowsoul. There's a lot of places, but winslowsoul.com is basically our main front to go to.
So they are tapped into the media. Just find Winslow Soul.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Cool. No problem.
Down. I go crazy inside. I feel that the rhythm's moving now, and it's on fire when it feels so right. And you know we can take it to the moon. Goes down, goes down.
FTF Music Conference locally here in Kent.
Yep, it was a great program to help musicians figure out a way to break out of the basement and become a real national act.
Exactly. It's a lot of that information that you don't generally think about when you're a local band. You know, it's all about learning the songs and getting songs in the first place. But, you know, eventually you have to take that next step to the national level. And this was all that information in a nice, neat little happy package.
Exactly. If you want to get out of mom's basement, you know, and get your own apartment or something and maybe get paid, you might want to go to next year's conference if you miss this one. And now, we're going to go meet emerging artist Margaret Williams.
When I was growing up, my mom, she's piano performance in college, and my father also studied theory and composition in college. And so there was, you know, my mom was always playing piano and singing in the house. And so, you know, when my oldest brother, you know, he and I were probably, you know, 5 or 6, something like that, she wanted us to learn piano. And so she started teaching my brother, and she started teaching me. And my older brother was just phenomenal immediately at piano. I mean, he's truly amazing, and I think I was a little intimidated by that, and I thought, no, I don't want to play piano, I want to play something else. And so I said I want to play guitar, and my parents are kind of like, oh, guitar, like, oh, what is that? I mean, nobody played guitar that we knew of, and I never heard anybody, but I just said, I don't know, I want to play guitar. So my mom found a teacher for me when I was about 8 or 9, and I studied for a few months, and then, you know, I had to quit taking lessons. I can't remember if it was financial or something like that. So I didn't get to play for a long time. And when I was like 15, my mom said, well, I found another guitar teacher for you. Because, you know, there were plenty of teachers in the area, but she wanted someone specifically classical, because they were classically trained musicians, so it couldn't be just, you know, steel string strumming or whatever. So she wanted me to study with a classical teacher. And it wasn't until I was like 15 that she found somebody else. So I started taking lessons again, and I was also very involved like with horses at the time, and I thought that I wanted to go into a career like with horse training. But somehow, as I just kept playing, I realized that that was really what I wanted to do. When I said I wanted to play guitar, I'd never heard anybody play guitar before. So, I mean, it was completely random for me to want to even play the guitar. So, and like I say, my parents being classically trained musicians, they insisted I had to have, you know, a classical teacher. You know, I couldn't learn folk or electric or anything like that. So that it wasn't really so much that I was drawn to classical guitar as to that's what they said, you're going to play this. So I would say, I mean, the classical guitar, in my impression, I'm probably biased, but I think it's the most difficult of all the styles of guitar to play, because the instrument itself is bigger, the neck's wider, you know, and you're playing finger style. You use all your fingers. So whereas other styles you may use a pick, I mean, the guitar you really have to have a lot of agility and dexterity to play. I definitely try to embrace whatever the mood is of the piece that I feel, because, if I'm not trying to express the mood of the piece, then for me, it's kind of pointless. It's just, it could be just a bunch of notes, So I think for me also, I try not to, if I'm really not feeling up to playing, if I'm really tired, or if I'm just not having a great day, I might not play, because otherwise it's just pointless. If I'm not focusing on the music and making music, with the notes that I have, then it doesn't really, it doesn't make much sense, so.
That was Margaret Williams. I hope you enjoyed her presentation of flamenco.
I did. I certainly enjoyed it more than your presentation of the flamenco.
Fair enough. I haven't even had a single lesson.
No!
It's hard to believe, I know.
Sure is.
Really is.
Were you looking for me to add some extra
I'm thinking maybe you would say some words
information there?
at that point.
Were ya?
Stop.
Were you? How'd that work out for you?
Not-
Okay, ready?
Well, I think we saw.
Now we're going to check out a little bit about the life and the times of outsider artist Alfred McMoore.
Yeah, this is actually a really heartwarming story, and at the same time a really fascinating story to see this guy who created this symbiotic relationship between artist and collector that actually helped him evolve his career.
He did, and not only did it help evolve him, but the connections he's made with people have definitely helped evolve them as well. And
Yeah.
we hint on it a little bit in the piece. You're going to have to watch the full-length documentary to get the entire story, but
Right.
check it out. So pay attention, see if you can figure it out for yourself.
Let's check it out.
Outsider art is art done. Outsider art is art that is defined more by the artist than the art that they create.
They call the art outsider.
That he was the real deal. That there was no question that this guy was an outsider. That he was compelled to create. He had no formal training. Actively heard and spoke two voices in his head. Under the right medication, he was manageable, meaning he wasn't going off half-cocked all the time. But that was a small percentage of the time. Most of the time he was semi out of control, which is when he ran into all of the nurses, the police, the sheriffs that he depicted in his drawings. I think it's probably the only art that is named for the artist rather than the art or the style of the art that's created. It's done by people with no training, no art training, no education in art. Generally, the people are disabled in some way, either alcoholism, mental illness, some kind of physical illness that generally confines them to a space, and they create what they create in that space. Alfred was in mental hospitals, I think, for close to half of his life, and that's where he created his work. And then when people like Alfred were released to onto the streets. They were in homes that were kind of managed by agencies like Community Support Services.
Basically, it's an artist who didn't attend an art school or an academy, somebody who makes art out of an interior passion, and which most artists do anyway, but without that kind of academic training and institutionalized history of art, if you will. Although, you know, people used to call outsider artists isolate artists, or call them outsider because they weren't privy to the art world, but in fact, they're not cut off from the world, and many outsider artists actually do see a lot of different kinds of art. Not that they maybe go to museums, but if you got Life magazine in the 1960s or 70s, for instance, you saw a lot of articles about contemporary art. So they're outsider in the sense that they're not within the academic tradition of going to the art academy, but outsider artists are very much engaged with the world.
His artwork was just crazy, and I you know, Chuck, prior to me meeting Alfred, Chuck showed me some of Alfred's work at his house, and I was like, my eyes about jumped out of my head, you know, as he unrolled these scrolls, and I was like, I can't believe, you know, that somebody would do this, and they go on and on and on, you know.
Alfred worked in a small bedroom that he shared with another person. 2 beds, couple dressers, and a very little amount of floor space. And Alfred worked on rolls that were 5 feet long by 120 feet. And he would roll out as much as he could at one time and lay on the paper and draw.
He was quite an amazing artist. I think that you know, he had a limited range of subject matter in that he was interested primarily in a limited cast of characters, the nurses, the funeral home directors, the funerals that he used to go to, the policemen that he knew, and within that he had a wonderful sense of line and of portraiture, and of caricature, if you will, sometimes. They're just really lively depictions, and it's so marvelous that they're so tied to our community here in Akron, because you can recognize people and names, and so it's as if you're privy to the inside view of the world through Alfred's eyes and Alfred's heads, and that's a pretty amazing place to be.
Almost all of his earlier work have this pattern to the. It's hard to. It's like a grid. You see this grid. And I won't say the name of my artist friend who I showed it to originally, because he'd probably be embarrassed now, but he was trying to figure out what technique Alfred used to get that grid-like effect in his work. And the technique that Alfred used was he worked on linoleum, and the squares of linoleum, the edges of each square, is what created that little bump that created the impressions in his work. So I went out and I got him a piece of hardboard big enough to fit in the space so that he could work on the hardboard without getting that linoleum impression in his work.
The museum, the Akron Art Museum, owns 2 works by Alfred, a scroll and one of the long scrolls, and then also an individual drawing of a policeman. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen the scroll unwrapped. It's so long that we can only unwrap it in, it takes a room like 40 feet long, and so, but it is my memory is that it's a funeral scene, and it has all of the characters that you'd want to have in it, and it's a rolling narrative. It's almost like a movie set. His scrolls are very cinematic in the sense that they do progress from scene to scene, if you will. And from character to character, they seem to go, there's a wonderful flow to them, and they really create a self-contained world.
Sometimes the men would have long pendant earrings, just multi-layers of pendant earrings. I have one where someone has a blimp propeller hanging from his belt of his outfit. You know, all the men always wore high heels. I have a lot of guesses why, but you know, once again, it delves into the psychology of Alfred. I think that Alfred was the king of his world on paper.
Did you guys figure it out?
The influence he had? Pretty cool stuff, right?
Absolutely. You're going to have to watch the full-length documentary that will be coming out sometime this year, 2010.
Yeah.
And that will give you the complete story as told from the people that knew him best.
Absolutely. It's a really fascinating story, and I don't know, there's something really neat about seeing this person who had such a huge impact on so many people, and yet, again, like we said at the beginning of the piece, somebody who's sort of typically disconnected. I mean, spending 20 years of his life institutionalized, separated from society, and yet had this sort of innate ability to reach out to people.
Absolutely. Never, ever, ever judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. You know what? That's a very good way to describe that. Well, that's been this episode of Art's Quest. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.
Yes.
Beeping.
You're what? What's peeping?
Listen, beeping.
Oh, my phone. I hope you enjoyed this month's episode of Art's Quest. Thanks for watching.
Make sure you tune into next month's Arts Quest, where we've got a whole new batch of cool art stuff.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, if you've got an idea for a story or if you've got something you want to write in about the show, you can check it out at artsquesttv.com. You can follow me at Twitter right here. You can also find us on Facebook here. See how I do the little sound? She doesn't like all the ways that we're accessible. We'll see you next time.